Oh, don't mind me, I'm just rolling one.
Today's video sponsor is GVG Mall, where using my SKG discount code leads to a 25% off across several products, making a Windows 10 serial key only $16. After the payment, you'll receive the key in your account and all you need to do is to introduce it in your Windows settings and bam! You have an activated system. So currently I've been searching the market for RTX cards to buy in order to bring new tests for you, of course. And I found that the RTX 3060 is now at roughly the same price as the RX 6700 XT, which is tiers above it. Now, we have these two cards at roughly at a $50 difference, in some cases even less, because we can get the 6700 XT at roughly $500, sometimes less, and the 3060 at around $450 in most scenarios. So I thought, why not make a video comparison in between these two cards, the 6700 XT and the 3060, since people actually want to know if it is worth to get those $60 more or $50 more for the 6700 XT, or if they go to the 3060, okay? And in that mix, I just added the old 5700 XT to kind of spice things up, I guess. Just to have more data, yeah. And that's why I bring you today's video. Ancient Gameplays, I'm Fabio Pisco, and welcome to my channel. By the way, just let me... Okay. So, I also bought this card, the RTX 3050, because you guys kept me asking to test the 3050 versus the 6600 and the 6500 XT, so I actually bought an RTX 3050, okay? And yeah, I'll be bringing some tests like the 25 games on the 3050, and obviously the 6500 XT versus the 6600 versus the 3050, which is a must. Well, without any further delays, don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video, and let's go to the benchmarks. The first game today is Assassin's Creed Valhalla using the usual very high settings. Unlike the previous AC games that favored Nvidia GPUs, the current titles actually favor a bit more the AMD ones, and that's why we see the 5700 XT still pulling more FPS or pushing more FPS than the 3060, and at 1080p by a difference of 10 average FPS, which is quite noticeable. At both 1080p and 1440p, the 6700 XT is simply smashing the other two cards, as it should, with a massive difference of almost 40 average FPS at 1080p. If we compare it to the 3060, that costs roughly the same as the 6700 XT by the time of this video. At 4K, the 6700 XT still has a fair margin over the 3060, and the 5700 XT is virtually tied with it. Horizon Zero Dawn is another interesting title to test. By the first time that I actually tested the RTX 3060, the AMD cards did not have any benefits from using Smart Access Memory, and look at them now. Both at 1080p and 1440p, the 3060 was performing better than the 5700 XT, but after the SAM patch, the 5700 XT surpasses it in both resolutions. which is awesome. But the biggest performance increase is indeed with the 6700 XT at 1080p that had a massive 20 average FPS increase over the non-SAM results. Insane. At 4K, the performance boost gets smaller obviously, but the 6700 XT still gets a decent boost of 4 average FPS, putting the card close to 60 FPS at 4K Ultra.
Hidden behind that poster that leads to the real world. We all feel safe in that room. But sometimes something crawls out from behind the poster. And the ones that see it happen freak out.
Now with Remedy's Control, a game known to run way better on Nvidia GPUs, and still, the old 5700 XT does not disappoint, giving us almost the same results as the RTX 3060. This, while the 6700 XT completely smashes both cards, as it should once again. I mean, the fact that the RTX 3060 is at the same price as the 6700 XT, give it or take it, should be considered a crime taking in consideration the big difference in between their tiers. At 4K, even the 6700 XT suffers a lot and can't reach much over 40 average FPS, with both the 3060 and the 5700 XT getting just a bit over 30, which will at least deliver a cinematic experience. Yeah. Gears 5 is not a recent game, but at ultra settings is still a really GPU intensive one. This is also the first game where the RTX 3060 does an astonishing job, at 1080p pushing as many FPS as the 6700 XT did without smart access memory. And it is only when using it that the 6700 XT actually manages to surpass the small 3060 in this title. Very interesting. At 1440p and 4K the difference just gets smaller and the old 5700 XT stays more and more behind, with the 3060 approaching the 6700 XT as the resolution goes higher. If we take the tiers in consideration, the RTX 3060 does an exceptional job in this title, but if we talk about current pricing, well, not really. Still exceptional performance for the 3060 here. Red Dead Redemption 2 couldn't be missing as well, using Vulkan and high settings. Once again, the 5700 XT and the 3060 are on par, and the 6700 XT is once again fairly above both, as usual. We can also see that all cards have monstrous benefits in the minimums when using SAM or rebar. In fact, at 1440p the 6700 XT has higher minimums than the 3060 has on averages, which is always fun to see. At 4K, the 6700 XT is the only card that can push close to 60 average FPS, with the other two cards falling in the low 40s, which is not that bad, but also not that optimal by today's standards. The last game with side-by-side comparisons is Forza Horizon 5, and holy shit! Once again we get a major performance uplift from using smart access memory with the 6700 XT. We're talking about 34 average FPS at 1080p. 34! When using SAM we have more 1% lows than averages without it, which shows once again the importance of using this technology in most games. And even at 1440p and 4K we have considerable gains, 25 average FPS at 1440p and 11 average FPS at 4K, which is nothing less than great. The 5700 XT also benefits from using SAM as well, and that actually makes it perform better than the 3060 in this game. Very interesting results indeed. Indeed. Let's move on.
Proceed to customs without undue delay.
Now we have Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk 2077 using high settings and not ray tracing. This is also a game known to perform way better on Nvidia GPUs, so it is kind of a letdown to see the 5700 XT actually performing better than the 3060 at 1080p and 1440p. I was hoping a scenario close to what we saw in Gears 5, but I guess that won't happen. Once again, the 6700 XT gets a very good performance uplift when using SAM, even more at 1080p. Going to 1440p and 4K does not alter the results, as the 5700 XT is still faster than the 3060 and the 6700 XT is considerably faster than both, being the only card achieving over 30 FPS at 4K.
Can be a little rough. Move around a bit to make sure you didn't break anything.
Call of Duty Warzone it is, using maximum available settings and no ray tracing. This is a game known to run heavily better on AMD GPUs in terms of FPS numbers, and even more on the newer RDNA 2 GPUs like the 6700 XT. I tested the 6600 non-XT versus the 3060 before, and even that card would perform better than the 3060 here, while costing around $150 less. So yeah, but well, the 5700 XT is quite faster than the 3060 here, and the 6700 XT is also quite faster than its predecessor. Going to 4K, well, the scales are the same, the ratios are the same, with the 6700 XT delivering over 80 average FPS, while the 3060 struggles to reach 60. Well, I wanted to cut the video to make it a bit shorter, but I know I would have someone asking me once again to include Rainbow Six Siege, so I did it. Here, using Vulkan API and Ultra settings, we have the usual 5700 XT 3060 Ti and the 6700 XT performing considerably faster. At 1440p the difference is still big, but at 4K we go from 100 average FPS on the 3060 to 125 on the 6700 XT, which won't make much of a difference in this particular scenario. Funny thing to notice here is that Smart Access Memory does not help the 5700 XT in this title, but it does help the 6700 XT, meaning that it could be due to drivers, ARC efficiency, or just because it has more VRAM. Who knows? Getting closer to the final line, we have God of War using high settings, since the ultra settings are way heavier in some scenarios, and that's why I use the high ones. In here, the 5700 XT is faster than the 3060, both at 1080p and 1440p, with the 6700 XT being considerably faster once again. At 1440p ultra-wide, the differences get more noticeable, since both the 3060 and the 5700 XT get around 60 FPS, but the 6700 XT can do 80. And that is a lot of difference in terms of gameplay smoothness. You know what I mean if you have at least a 75Hz monitor. Overall, great results for all cards. Our last game is Resident Evil Village using max settings and no ray tracing. This game uses the RE engine, which works way better with AMD GPUs, and that can be seen here, with the 5700 XT being considerably faster than the 3060 in this title, and of course with the 6700 XT blowing both out of the water, and by a big margin. Seems like RDNA 2 cards work very well with this engine, as the performance difference in between the 5700 XT and the 6700 XT is just insane. At 4K, the 6700 XT is the only card pushing around 70 FPS, while the 5700 XT gets really close to 55 and the 3060 doesn't even reach 50. Big hoof. But well, now that we've seen all the results, let's move to the conclusion. So conclusion guys, what do you think? Well, as you can see, the 6700 XT is several tiers above the 3060, and in most games it will perform way better it will perform way better than the 3060, in most scenarios from 20 to 30%, in some scenarios even more than that. So it's a huge difference in terms of performance, while having roughly the same power draw once tweaked. So roughly the same power draw, way more performance, and only $50 to $60 more. So it's a no-brainer for me. Just get the 6700 XT unless you can get a really cheap 3060. If the difference is $30, $40, $60 or even $100, I would 100% sure get the 6700 XT. No doubts. Now, if the price of the 3060 is maybe $350, then that's a killer deal, and I would get the 3060. If the prices still are the same as of today, like 4th of June, then, well, it is way better. It's a way better option overall to get the 6700 XT. And no, AMD drivers do not suck. And if you are afraid of AMD drivers, they are completely fine by now. They have one bug here, one bug there, but overall they are way better than they were before. So things are looking good, and if you're actually aiming for this price tag, the 6700 XT is the card that you want. Now, as for the old 5700 XT, it is still able to match, and in some cases outmatch, the 3060. So if you have a 5700 XT, I do not advise getting a 3060, and I do not advise even getting a 6700 XT, because although it is way faster, I advise you to get at least the 6800, and if you can, the 6800 XT, because that's where you're actually gonna feel the difference. If you're going to the 6700 XT, you're gonna feel some difference, but not that much. But going to a card like the 6800 XT will make you feel the difference, and it will make you feel like it is a real upgrade instead of more like a side grade, okay? So that's my opinion. If you want to see, for example, the 6800 results, you have this video with the 6700 XT and the 6800, and also including the 6600 XT, I guess. So it's a nice video. So guys, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video. Also, comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the results and the current prices of the current market. Let me know if you would pick the 3060 or if you would pick the 6700 XT. Thanks a lot, and see you in the next videos. Most likely of the RTX 3050. See you soon.